family. A single mature male, known as the silverback, heads the group by virtue of his sheer size and fighting strength. For male gorillas, success in adulthood will ultimately depend upon their fighting ability. Roughhousing is the best way to train. All of the 9 youngsters in this group are probably the silverback's own offspring, so he seems content to put up with their high-spirited play. Their father is, by definition, a successful role model, and the youngsters follow him around with a devotion that looks something like hero worship. But adolescent males prefer to steer clear of the silverback. Sexually mature, yet forbidden to mate within the group, this younger so-called blackback finds himself on a collision course with the boss. His sexual frustrations finally boil over, and a young female is bullied into submission. Out of view of the dozing silverback, the blackback mates with her. But the blackback takes a serious risk. Silverbacks do not share their females and are prepared to fight for them. The result is a painful but superficial wound, a reminder of the silverback's power and dominance. Within a year or two, the teenager will leave the group to search elsewhere for a mate. Male aggression, especially toward females, is not limited to gorillas. In the forests of Sumatra and Borneo, orangutans spend most of their time apart and lead lives that are generally quieter than their African cousins. But orangutans are brought together by the need for sex and into conflict by the rules of mating. A female orangutan takes nearly a decade to raise a child, and during that time she will not have mated. But when at last she becomes fertile again, it's an event that pulls in the local males from miles around. But ahead of the dominant males is a young, frustrated teenager, too small to compete against his elders, but small enough to outmaneuver them. He forces himself on a female. Her child tries desperately to disrupt the attacker. But when a big male appears, the stakes will be raised. The angry dominant male smashes trees to signal his displeasure. The only course for the weaker male is to retreat. Male chimpanzees compete too, but they can also cooperate. Tightly knit groups of related males work closely to defend their territory from rival gangs. Individual rivalries are put aside, and nowhere is discipline tighter than on border patrol. If they can catch an outsider male alone, then there'll be the chance of a kill. By some estimates, about a third of adult males die in attacks like this, a staggeringly high murder rate. A few million years ago, the humid jungles of Africa housed just one chimp-like creature. The Congo Basin was then a huge landlocked lake. Over time, a small river drained the lake, becoming the mighty Zaire River. The river cut the forest in two, isolating populations of apes on opposite banks. Those to the north became today's chimpanzees, and those to the south evolved into bonobos. Naturalists didn't distinguish bonobos from chimps until 1929. But some of the clearest differences can be found in the status of females.
A female chimpanzee's life is rugged. They have hardships just in daily activities. They are probably lower on the hierarchy, the social status, than males throughout the society. And, for instance, males beat them up, chase them, bully them around, and that doesn't happen in bonobo society. The female bonobos are not bullied and chased, although there can be some aggression. It's very minor. Female bonobos are never raped, as far as we know. They have first choice at feeding sites. Their life is much more peaceful.
The physical differences between chimps and bonobos are quite telling. Bonobos have shorter, smaller faces and a more slender physique, retaining many of the features seen in juvenile chimps. They're rather like chimps frozen inside adolescent bodies. Even their voices are high-pitched and childlike. The male aggression that is so common in chimps is much reduced in bonobos. And even relations between neighboring groups are often peaceful.
Why do they need to be aggressive? They don't have to fight for food. They don't have to fight for sex. They don't have to fight for interrelationships. They don't have to fight for space. Why would they be aggressive?
All ape societies have complex rules that the young need to learn. The way they do this mirrors the development of a human child. At the age of 2, humans are unable to picture and understand the world from someone else's perspective.
Where's Maggie gone? Oh, there you are. Can I see you?
If she can't see you, then you can't see her either.
I've lost Meg.
When she opens her eyes, she becomes visible.
Oh, there we are.
As they develop, human children acquire the missing mental trick. A 7-year-old is able to bridge the gap to another person's mind, to picture someone else's viewpoint, and to imagine how his knowledge and intentions could be different from her own. Great apes don't play chess, but perhaps they too can think themselves into the minds of others. The problem is, how do we find out if apes have this ability if they don't have language to tell us? Experiments at Washington Zoo may provide the answer to whether apes can perform this mental feat as well as we can.
It's very easy for humans. We do this all the time. And what we're testing is how capable are apes of doing this, in this case an orangutan, when she's interacting with a human. So the idea is, when I walk up to this situation, I am totally naive. I don't know where the hidden food is. I don't know which location it's in. And I don't do anything unless she tells me to do it. So what she will do is move me into the correct position, turn me around, and push me towards where the food is hidden. Now, she understands that I'll uncover the food and hand it to her once she directs me towards it. What's important is that she has to understand that I have a lack of knowledge in my mind about this situation.
But what if knowledge isn't the only thing lacking?
Okay. Put it right here. And get Rob.
Rob Schumacher is now led in with his eyes covered.
Try to now here.
If Inda is truly to see things from Rob's perspective, she has to realize that, just like her, Rob needs eyes to find the food.
Here? Okay, let's see. Good girl. You were a smart girl that time. Good girl. That was good. Good for you. Okay. Very good. Okay, all done.
Now things are still more complicated for Inda. She is confronted by Rob and a second person whose eyes are covered. But Inda knows that all humans, and not just Rob, need to see. She really has bridged the gap into other minds.
What she did very well was not only model the fact that both of us had a deficit of information, she understood that we did not know something that she knew, and on top of that, she modeled the visual field of the person that she chose to assist her. So by removing the bucket off of his head, what that demonstrates is she understands what he sees when he looks at a situation. She's moved outside of her own experience, and she's modeling someone else's experience in her own mind.
To reach into the minds of others requires a sense of who you are. When this monkey is confronted by its own reflection, it reacts as if it were facing another monkey. But great apes are different. In a single moment of insight, puzzlement turns into self-recognition, and AZ sees not another ape, but himself in all his finery. Great apes are talented inventors. An ape can not only assess a problem, but use or even invent tools to solve it. By breaking some twigs to fit through the gap, the orangutan can flick and roll food into its mouth. And if peanut butter is available, it can be used as a glue to create another kind of tool. Tools have been used by some of the great apes in the wild for cracking nuts or fishing for insects or honey. Tribes in Indonesia used to say that orangutans pretended not to talk to avoid being put to work. We now know that speech is physically impossible for great apes. But this orangutan comes to work each morning to learn how to communicate with humans. Scientists at Washington Zoo are studying the learning and communication skills of orangutans. It is officially labeled a language study.
Okay.
But Rob Schumacher and his team are not teaching the animals to talk. Instead, they are teaching the recognition and use of symbols so that the orangutans can communicate their wants and needs.
Good, okay, good job. Very good. I think we know quite clearly from other projects that apes are very capable of using abstract symbols and syntax to communicate. Well, these are the basics of every language. And what I would like to do is use this language ability to explore questions about behavior, perceptions, natural history of orangutans that you could not explore by, say, the usual means of observation or seeing how they react in certain situations. Do another piece? Ready? And watch carefully. No. Let's try it one more time. Start over. Okay, try again and watch what you're doing.
The great apes are set apart from their fellow primates not just by their size.
There you go. And now you're saying,
Unlike monkeys,
good, okay.
they are
That's it.
thoughtful tool users and promising linguists. They also have a self-awareness, and like us, a special ability to see and think as if they were someone else.
This will be the last one. Ready? That's right. Good, okay, good. You're doing a good job. That's a boy.
It's now common knowledge that apes are remarkably smart. Still, if they're so clever and adaptable, why haven't they explored more varied habitats? Monkeys like these baboons thrive on the African plains. But where are the apes? Just because apes aren't visible now in the savannah doesn't mean they've never existed here. The strange fossilized remains of early great ape relatives show that some were indeed adapted to life outside the forests. The fossil record shows that these ape ancestors spread throughout Africa and the warmer parts of Europe and Asia. Some of these now extinct species lived in dry, patchy woodlands. They were powerfully built animals with strong, thickly enameled teeth, allowing them a coarser and grittier diet. In the foothills of the Himalayas lived the greatest of all great apes. At an estimated 700 pounds, Gigantopithecus would have dwarfed a silverback gorilla. It was an awesome giant that could have been the source of the legend of the Yeti. But for reasons unknown, Gigantopithecus and the so-called wood apes vanished. Then around 5 million years ago, another wave of apes emerged from the forest communities. These new savanna apes rapidly diversified into several two-legged species. Of these, only one survives to this day: Homo sapiens, or humans. Since Charles Darwin first suggested that African apes gave rise to the human race, scientists have established a basic but definitive timeline. The great ape family tree has roots that date back 15 million years to when the ancestors of orangutans first emerged. Later, the ancestors of gorillas split off from the remaining African apes. Then, just 5 million years ago, there was a third split with two branches. One eventually gave rise to chimpanzees and bonobos, and the other, the human animal, the ape that changed the world. The human ape has been the most adaptable of all the apes. With the ability to thrive in nearly all the world's environments and climates, the human population has exploded to nearly 6 billion. It would take around 120,000 large stadiums to contain us all.